right, good afternoon, everybody. Just like Carl this morning, it really fills me with a lot of joy to see everyone here, partners, implementation partners, integration partners, customers, some new customers, some early adopter customers, prospects, and also the whole team at Epic Base bringing this event together. So when people often approach me with all grand questions like, will robots take over my kitchen? Will they replace the chefs in my kitchen? Even to things like, is AI, is it a bubble? Is it actually not just overhyped? A lot of skepticism, in fact, as well. Even more so, like it might be a dead end in AI. There's some prominent figures believing also that. Questions about the sustainability of AI as well in the future. Now, I myself have always been very interested in AI. Actually, since a teenager, it's the reason I started studying computer science, because I wanted to understand how intelligent machines could be built. That's also why, after studying computer science, actually here in Antwerp at the university, I went to the AI lab in Brussels, the Free University of Brussels, to start a PhD in AI. So it's been my passion forever, and it didn't stop when I started, when we launched Epic Base, right after actually my academic career together with Carl. Little anecdote, it's actually Carl we met at the AI lab in Brussels as colleagues there. So people come to me with these questions, and what I realize, is that although most of us have been working now with some of these tools, largely probably large language models, for the last 3 years, it still just is a lot of fog. It feels like something magical. There's no understanding. And actually, I was very happily, surprised or, to hear that Marco this morning said, hey, I took a course and I was talking over lunch. It's an 8-month course, really in depth, about how do these things work, really trying to understand the real innovation there, trying to understand, is it a real innovation? How do these things work? And I just can't resist, this is my academic me still, to take 15 minutes of my time here on the stage to try and give a little bit of a deeper understanding. Don't worry, I'm not going to do vector multiplications or matrix multiplications for you today, but trying to give through metaphors why I personally believe that what we have seen happening in the last, for most of us, 3 years since the launch of ChatGPT is truly revolutionizing and is here to stay. Even if there might be a bubble on Wall Street, the technology itself is here to stay, will not go away, and will only create enormous revolution. But let's be honest, probably this is, either it being ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, any kind of large language model, that's what most of us have been using in the last 3 years. Actually, with these large hands, who used this week, we're Thursday now, who used a large language model this week in a professional setting to solve a professional question? All right, that makes me happy. We're in an AI-savvy audience. Personally, when I walk around at Epic Base, of course, we're a bit lucky as being a technology company. We see it open everywhere, on both in the IT departments, my own, the product department. It's everywhere in marketing and so on. So we've been using these large language models now for 3 years. But in fact, if you ask what is AI, then this is the same. Yeah, the clicker really is not yet AI driven. That's the same question and asking what is a GPT, because really there is a before GPTs were invented or discovered, in fact, and an after moment. So this could be seen as a before 2022 and an after 2022. And this is somebody coming out of the AI academic world. So these technologies, these GPTs, of which ChatGPT and the large language models that we use is a particular kind of GPT, one that generates text. It's much broader than that, this revolution. We really, and I'm going to spend again the next 10, 15 minutes in trying to give you a bit of a hint of what that technology was and why I personally believe it is not at all a dead end, it's not overhyped, and why we can expect great things from it in the future, and then, of course, in hospitality as well. So, as I said, GPTs is more than LLMs. So, although, let's say the general public has been mainly interfacing with just the text-based ones, the industry as a whole has been, in a rapid pace, trying to adapt legacy systems or new opportunities, in fact, to use this new architecture. So this is not limited to text. This, the more innovative companies, sadly, they tend to be American and Chinese these days, so less here in Europe, are applying this in self-driving cars. Google is doing it in robotics with robot transformers. You might have heard or have seen some tools suddenly making huge leaps in speech synthesis. If you've heard those, for sure, that's because they adapted to GPT-style ways of working. And in fact, that can be a takeaway. When people come to me, sometimes investors ask, hey, we're looking into an AI startup or another one, or they claim to be using AI. What should I be looking for to make that judgment? The answer is easy. Check whether they're using GPTs and that new technology and not a legacy technologies. And so when we at Epicbase made a decision, for example, this year to add invoice reconciliation power and the three-way matching, this was also our driving decision-taking to seek the technologies out there. Because to be honest, 95% of all document scanning technology is legacy AI. Only a small, tiny percentage was already adapting to GPT-based document processing, which is at a whole other level. And that's what we're using in Epicbase behind the scenes. In our case, it's even then, of course, fine-tuned on the hospitality business, in this case, invoices from suppliers. Okay, so the little academic part about this GPT. These IT people, we love our three-letter acronyms, so I apologize for this. We put them everywhere: APIs, GPTs, later in this talk, MCPs. I don't make up these names, but we love them. And so, and let's start with that first one, the generative part, That's, on the one hand, the most mind-boggling, and often the one used by skeptics to say, is it really that you can't get true intelligence, or you can get it will be a dead end. I will argue, but I can only make that argument when we get at the T, that it's actually exactly the opposite. It's because they operate at a token level that they are actually so powerful and so interesting. And often people know this. When I talk to them, they say, yeah, I read it somewhere, apparently it just generates some next token. But if you poke a little bit deeper, you start to see that this isn't necessarily that they say, yeah, but today they're not yet doing that, because when I ask it a question and it generates this long, summary of a whole video call, what does that even mean that it generates an next token? It must be doing something more because it feels so magical. The truth is, it really is just generating an next token. This is a fact. The skeptics are not wrong. Even today, even the deep reasoning models, with DeepSeek last year, and now all the models, even when they are thinking and they are generating things like, oh, but let me analyze this and so on and so forth, they are still just generating every time they look at the context, they look at your question, they look at what you've generated, and the model, the whole GPT with its trillions of parameters, generates one next word, token, let's take for now it's a word, that's what it does. And if it generated a paragraph of 1,000 words, it did 1,000 times just putting one next word. That's what it does. It's not, and it doesn't not know yet what the next tokens will be. It doesn't know that it's going to make 3 points. It doesn't know yet that when it's going to stop, it just generates the next token. That feels very, very odd that it is doing that and that all these transformer-based, this whole revolution is indeed doing that. Another example is when they invoke tools like, yeah, but it's browsing the web for me. Look, it's coding, it's searching my desktop. You know, Peter, this isn't generating next tokens anymore. This is clearly doing more. In fact, it seems to be doing more, and it is doing more, but fundamentally it's just generating a next token. A tool called browsing the web is just a token, browse the web, and then it opens it. It's all just tokens. Even stopping generating text is a token. All is tokens. So the second part of this, of the GPTs, the pre-trained, I can go a bit faster over that. It's not that special. I think everybody knows it. These large language models with every GPT, you know, they launch in a version and it doesn't change, right? It's fixed. Now, why does it seem to learn so fast? That's because it's doing in-context learning. It's learning on the spot, but not actually changing the network. The network itself is exactly the same. This leads to sometimes some odd behaviors, like it seems to forget what you did. Actually, it doesn't seem to forget what you did. It really did forget what you said because it doesn't. It actually didn't change. My prediction is that these things will stay pre-trained for a very long time. For all kinds of reasons, and that a lot of work is going to go into highly performant memories. And in fact, we already have these technologies. It's just a matter of these companies finding the time to add these to these GPTs. In this case, I'm talking mainly even about large language models to solve the drawbacks of this. And then the last one, which is, say, the essence, because that's what it is, a transformer. That is actually, because I said 2022, that's when ChatGPT was launched, and let's say we all got a taste of it. The basis of this revolution was in 2017. So in 2017, it was Google researchers, mainly Google researchers, published this paper, Attention is All You Need, which at that moment, by the way, these researchers didn't know that this would be a revolutionary new paper. It was just locally in some tasks optimizing. But what that transformer network allowed to do, and I was looking for a good metaphor, ChatGPT helped me finding this metaphor, by the way. And the way to see it as before transformers, when AI scientists had to, or AI engineers, had to solve problems, it's like we had a flashlight and we needed to understand the game of football. So we started patching all kinds of things together, you know, oh, maybe you have multiple flashlights and some try to track the players and some track the ball, and then there's code in between. And then, sometimes it loses a player, and then we had code to track again, or another flashlight to find the player again. That's what we've been building until we had transformers. And that's what you sort of felt. And we were able to actually build very cool stuff with that, but it was very constraining. And if the next day they say, hey, now I want to apply this tool to basketball, well, okay, no way. This has been trained. This has been not only trained, but has been specifically patched together for football. And if it snowed and the field was wide, boom, you're out of luck. It's not going to work anymore. This was essentially the technologies without transformers. With a transformer, the best way to view it is you get sort of this kind of technology in your hands. And even this one doesn't really do it justice. Because so not only can you see everything at the same time, but all of these things are connected and can influence each other in these huge networks through a process called self-attention. But if I go into that topic, I'm going to talk for another hour just about that, so I'm going to refrain myself. But I think the big picture is, going from having a limited view, limited capabilities, by seeing everything at once and everything influencing each other. In the context of a large language model, this would mean that every word, that one, it can look at the whole context, all of your things in context, and every word can influence the meaning of every other word. And what that results in, and this is the slide where that really is the moment, for me at least, to believe that this technology is revolutionary and is here to stay, is what we started seeing is capabilities emerging out of these very basic, generating a next token, because fundamentally it's doing something very unintelligent, highly unintelligent, namely this token generation. But what researchers started to see, when we scale up these networks with this transformer architecture, we start to see it generates English, correct grammatical English, and it's not gibberish. It actually makes sense. It's answering my question. And then when the network gets larger, they see, if I ask to translate from English to Dutch, if it got enough data, of course, it seems to be able to do that. And so researchers started to see the larger there's three core dimensions. There's the size of your model, the parameter size, the size of your network. There's the amount of data you put in. That's a drawback. You do have to put a lot of data in. I don't think that's any news. And the amount of compute you have. I think we also all know the kind of data centers these things are building. It's a lot of compute. You need to scale all three. If you don't get more emergent properties. But what they started to see was exactly these higher and higher level emergent properties. And to me, this was exactly what, when I was still doing research at the VUB, was already a strong believer that if we ever have systems that exhibit intelligence, it will have to be emergent intelligence. Cannot be coded. This will never scale. It has to be of this kind. And if you sort of understand this and understand that it is that actually all of the properties we see are emergent, it's also quite easy to start to see some of its limitations sometimes. But before I go into the limitations, just to quickly say, we already saw this slide, but so again, all of the examples I just gave about context were about in the context of a large language model, because that's what we've been using. But the same is true for, let's say, the self-driving technology that is now being used in Teslas. They have completely reworked their self-driving algorithms and models to be GPT or GPT family based since 2022, throwing away almost all of the legacy patchwork they had to then by then. There's these other ones as well. But as I was saying, if you understand that these intelligent properties are emergent from the system, it makes sense that it has certain limitations, because sometimes skeptics then say, but look at it, I think typically the 6 fingers. To be honest, I did have to explicitly ask it now, generate a hand with 6 fingers, else it wouldn't do it anymore. There's other clear types where people, the chess, it's actually not so good at chess, why is it so intelligent, and so on. And one thing I say a lot to people in trying to, and that can be also really a takeaway, in reasoning or forming an opinion about this technology is, there's 2 things to it. It is first of all, it's not human intelligence, hence it will have shortcomings that we don't have. At the same time, it has a lot of capabilities that our human intelligence doesn't have, such as the memory span and so on. But also, any intelligence, even if this thing becomes even 10 times more powerful, 50 times more powerful, AGI, people are talking about it, and so on, even if it reaches the highest maximum intelligence that we could even envision, still you need to invest in these things. You can, just like you would have to invest in any intelligence, just like you would have invest in human intelligence. When a new team member joins our team, no matter how intelligent or how talented this person is, we need to onboard this person. We need to tell them about our processes. We need to tell them how we do things, about our company culture. Without that, no matter how intelligent you are, this thing is never going to produce, or this intelligence is never going to produce great results. And it's the same with these kinds of things, with any intelligence, in fact. And this is also, I often see people doing, hey, yeah, you ask, hey, maybe we can try using AI here, and they try it, and it's what I call sloppy use of AI. They say, look, I tried it, they give some really sloppy prompt, and I say, yeah, but imagine you give this to any human, the most intelligent, what you're expecting it to do is nearly impossible. So, so that's I think, very important part of using these tools as well. And maybe just to handpick a few, because if you understand the technology, all of these drawbacks, the other one is the clocks, I think you know. If you don't, check it out. If you ask it to render a clock at any time, it will always be that. That, of course, I think you all know has to be, because it's biased due to its training data. The chess I already talked about. It's predicting, if you ask an LLM to predict the next word, the next chess move, it's not trained for that. I mean, it's actually quite amazing that it can play chess at all. It understands the rules. They are building chess-based GPTs as well, so really a GPT, again, specifically built for chess or for, let's say, board game types, and of course, they will be much better. And maybe last there, also, sometimes I do see people using these tools for more subjective things, life decisions, and so on. I would say don't expect it, of course, to necessarily, there are no truths there. Pay attention to that. So I've been trying to make the point, one, that it's not just LLMs, although we have been using that tool mainly. It's these GPTs that are the true radical innovation that happened since 2017, slowly in towards 2020, and then with the launch of ChatGPT 2022. But in fact, there is something, and this only dawned to me also when DeepSeek and so on came last year. There is something special about the large language models among all of these GPT-based systems that are coming out. And that's just because language is a very powerful and special tool. Language is, this is a quote by Steven Pinker, a very well-known linguist. Language is the window into the human mind. It's also our tool that we use to reason. It's the language of logic. We use it to also, in fact, use it for many different modalities. We express music even through tokens as well, and through language and through script. All of our code is there, so there is something especially powerful when applying these things to language, and hence what you see emerging in the kind of emergence we see in large language models as well. Okay, so I started with this slide saying, there's a lot of fuzziness, a lot of fog in trying to understand. One thing to say is nobody today deeply understands these things, okay? This is also true. So what I try to do is give you a bit of vision, and that's the best anybody can hope today, because even the most brilliant researchers today, or the Elon Musk or the Sam Altmans or whoever in this world, nobody fundamentally understands how these technologies, exactly how this emergence happens. In fact, it's a whole field of research. So there's now a whole field of research of interpretability, and they're just asking the most basic questions. So there's papers being written on how does an LLM know, like, that Michael Jordan is a basketball player. There's whole papers being written about that question and researching it. Where is this knowledge, if anywhere at all, coded, let alone the higher level properties that we see emerging in these systems. Nobody knows, sadly also not me. If I did, I would tell you, and I'd probably win a Nobel Prize while doing so. And we might actually, to be fair, never know, because I think we will never really understand these systems. They're too complex for us. We will get a bit of a grip on them, just like we don't understand our own intelligence, of course. There's also researchers, by the way, almost very like neurologists, except we can really cut out parts of the brain in an LLM at least, really trying to cut out parts to see the influence, to understand, okay, where is its math capability, where is its grammar, if it can translate from where is maybe a Dutch grammar, if it seems to be able to translate. Very, very interesting research, but very many unknowns still in this area. And maybe one last thing about this before we go into the AI in hospitality and what this can mean for our industry is that we're really in the early days of this technology. I mean, it's totally in the embryonic phase. So the way we are interacting, what we are and where we are is absolutely the beginning, not nearing some end state. My prediction is we will interface, hardwares will come out, which will make us interface with these technology in much more natural ways. There will be massive push on humanoid robots, so robotics will see a big thing. Nonetheless, I don't think we will be seeing robots en masse in kitchens. I don't think it will happen very, very soon. It will first go through a B2C and in other industries. But in the digital world, it's going on now, and it will happen in the next years. Those will be revolutionized. And so the second part of this talk is, of course, what does that mean for hospitality, for software, for data? And I invite co-founder Carl on the stage to demo and to show some of the things on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pieter. What's very important to understand is, of course, that this, as Pieter mentioned, this technology is very new. And as I mentioned this morning, AI is something people have asking us about since, let's say, the very birth of it 2-3 years ago. And to be very honest with you, I mean, we have also thought and worked quite long and hard to understand on how to use AI within our own software and disclose it to you as customers, so you can actually benefit from this fantastic technology. Now, of course, also, I mean, to be very honest with you, when we then throw the question back, and what is it that you want to do with AI, the answers are also rather limited. And that kind of shows you that we are very much at the beginning of this journey. Now, for that, I think today is for Epic Base a very special day, and I hope that together with you, we can in 2026, starting today, find out together where AI and hospitality needs to go to. Now, what we actually found out is that there's basically two visions we can do. And the first one is actually bringing AI into software. So what that means is basically that you have agents, tools that you use in your own software, in the Epic-based environment. And the second vision is actually that you have, that you have software bringing it into AI, which means that Epic-based is disclosing data, your data, you are disclosing the Epic-based data into your large language model, into ChatGPT, Claude, anything like that. So there's two visions that you actually can use, and actually today it is not quite known yet which one will prevail, because there's two different ways of working with AI. Now, I am very, very proud today to say that we will support both ways of working, and we will also disclose this to you. And in order to give you a little bit of a glimpse of what you can expect from Epic-based in the next year or so, is we will do a few demos on stage live with internet. So I'm getting very nervous now, but I will do a short demo. And the first thing that I will do is I will demo the software, the AI in software. So that is the most traditional way, you could say. It is typically the way that we think of AI if we envision it. You know our software. This is Epic-based, and for those who are very, very well known with our software, probably you never saw the companion button here on the top right of the screen. And this companion button is actually there to host a few of the features that we will launch from our Epic Labs, as we've baptized it, where we actually use AI for the better. So I will be showing three things today, and the first one is a very simple one, and one that is has been asked a lot by our customers, but is not that easy to solve, and that is making sure that we can actually import your recipes from everywhere that you've kind of have the recipes. And obviously, that means that we should be able to handle Word documents, PDFs, Excel documents, multiple recipes in one document, but you also use the internet yourself to kind of discover new recipes. You go maybe to BBC Food to find a new lasagna, or you go to somewhere else where you find your inspiration, and you want to kind of import all of that data. Now, that is one of the first things that we will launch. It is the ability to upload any kind of data into Epic-based, and Epic-based will then extract that data using AI, so you can actually make use of all of that. Now, I'm not going to show you all of these documents. I'm just going to jump to the most difficult one, and it's actually from an image. So imagine you're reading a cookbook, and you say, Alain Ducasse, you did it right. I want this one in my recipe book, or in my Epic-based library, sorry, and you take a picture from the book, and you want to upload that. That is perfectly possible with this. Now, you can go even further. You are sitting on the train, you're writing a recipe out of your mind, and you're kind of just writing down some very simple steps and ingredients. Now, that is actually what I want to show you now. So actually, as you can see, this is the note. Look at how badly photographed it is. It's very simple things. I don't think everybody can immediately read even what's on here, but this is how a recipe could look like. Now, I'm going to import this, and I'm going to leave it with AI to then do some really what I call AI magic. Now, of course, there's a lot happening here. Epic-based is doing image optimization. It is sending the image in different pieces. It is then allowing the AI to read the different lines in different ways. And basically, the result is that in a few seconds, or sometimes when it's more complicated, some dozens of seconds, the recipe is then recognized. So as you can see, it was a choc pie recipe written down on a note, and I can actually now just open that note, and I can actually see that it filled out the recipe name. Of course, it left some things blank because it was not handed to them, but the ingredients are also all just listed in a in a ready-to-import format into EpicBase. And it even looks at, the different ways of writing it, because, for example, the first one, for those who noticed, are, let's say, chocolate in little squares. So it says 2SQ block. So it's really ununderstandable. But the AI manages actually to translate this into, as EpicBase knows them, pieces. So actually you can then later on just use this recipe with the ingredients and really understandable units of measure. Now it does more than that. It also looks into your database and it shows you that you already have this Baker's chocolate square in your library. It even shows you the ID, so you can verify that this is not hallucinated and that is really from your library. And then you can actually see that many of these ingredients are recognized, so you're not making orphan ingredients. You're really using the power of AI to import a recipe and then link those ingredients of these recipes to already existent ingredients in your database. And then, of course, when you're done, you can just import the recipe into EpicBase and it actually becomes part of your library. That's the first thing I wanted to show you. Now, the second thing is something that we also hear a lot, and that is that thanks to EpicBase, you can today already reduce your way of your time for counting dramatically. Some of them even cut their time in half, but I think we can go further than that. So what is another example of using AI within EpicBase is by going into the count functionality. Then, of course, as you know, selecting an outlet. And again, this companion button here appears. And what it actually does is it opens up a window, and you can actually choose two ways of counting. Okay? The first one is visual counting, which just takes a picture of your shelf, and you can actually upload the image into the assistant here, and it will recognize all of the ingredients on this picture. Now you can say, well, yeah, Carl, but will it also recognize depth? No, it doesn't. So if you take a front picture and there's 8 cans of cola, one after the other, it will only recognize one. But still, there is a very big use case, because when you are setting up your library, you go through your whole inventory and you just picture everything that you have in your stock, just to build up and recognize what you have in stock. And then afterwards, you can then use voice stock counting to count your stock. And for that, of course, I just went into my inventory and I printed out very old-fashioned accounting list out of EpicBase. And I'm now going to start the recording. I'm trying to do this live on stage, so bear with me. And I have a few of the ingredients here on my list, and I will do, for demo purposes, a few of them. So I have two bags of organic white potatoes. I have 4 white onions. I have 1 bottle of apple gin. I have 200 grams of Ardennes ham. I have 7 packs of baking powder. So as you can see, I deliberately also just read kind of random words from this. I'm not directly reading it as it is written in my stock report. But the cool thing is that the voice recognition and the AI is actually very good at recognizing what I just mentioned. And it is actually auto-matching all of the ingredients with the different pieces that I just told it that I see in my stock. And it will then automatically link it to the stock item that I have in my inventory. And if it doesn't recognize, because obviously, unfortunately, everything I read came from a list which is recognized, so it is a 5 out of 5 or something. But if it doesn't recognize, you actually also have the ability to then create the ingredients straight from this interface, where it will then use the internet and use the AI to, let's say, find the producer. So if you have biscuits and they're from Lu, then it will fill out the supplier name Lu. It will try and find online the nutritions, the allergens, and obviously AI can make mistakes, but the time of inputting data will reduce tremendously by using technology like this. And the final one is the menu planning. So, of course, we know that a lot of people are using our menu planning in the way that we today give it to them. But of course, there is another way of doing this, and that is the AI way. So basically, what I can do is I can generate a menu plan with AI. So I'll give it a demo name. Then I can give it a description, which then will also be sent to the LLMs. I do, of course, have to give a few of these things. So the 1st of December, it can take more than 1 week, but for demo purposes, I leave it at 1. It is 1 cycle, and the rest I leave empty, except for this, which is a starter, a main course, and a dessert. And then I can actually just continue to the AI setup. So basically what it now does is it asks me how this menu needs to look like. So for example, in this case, I can define the number of recipes I want in 1 day for each of my, let's say, courses. This can be also different types, but let's do these courses. I can then include or exclude it from the generation, and I can also identify from which categories of my own library, so these are recipes that are in your database, I need to search. So I have, in this case, a starter. Now I set the category to main course, and I have a category, dessert. And I can also still give season, type of dishes, and I can also define the number of variety that needs to be generated by AI. And I'm not talking about the recipes, I'm talking about how the recipes will be planned on your menu. So I can set this to 0, and then it will every day be the same, or I can set this to 100%, and then every day I will get other recipes until, of course, your recipes are out of, let's say, out of numbers. I can then still give some menu criteria, so I can say which audience I'm working for, which diet type that I need to take into account, if there needs to be any allergens excluded for which occasion, and if I want, I can even write a whole diary in the additional requirements. And then I'm actually generating my menu plan with AI. So, of course, again, bear with me, it might take a few seconds, but what it does is it will use your recipes that you have in your database, so there is no invention there, and then it will kind of plan this on a menu in a matter of seconds or half a minute, and you're fully, completely ready to, let's say, plan your menu and start working on a pre-planned menu by AI. And of course, we will try and improve these AI models from a proprietary way, from Epic Base, so that when you use, let's say, when you select the different categories, starters, etc., that it actually delivers every time again trustworthy results, so you can really lean on AI to make your life easier, to go faster, and to actually get insights and understanding and way of working that is much, much faster than you are used to do. And these are actually the 3 things I wanted to show to you today in terms of bringing AI into software. Now, I showed you 3 things: import with AI, import recipes with AI, voice count with AI, and plan menus with AI. But there is also another, you can pull this out. There's also another, there's many other things, sorry, that we already have ready for you, and that is visual count, as I just told you, but also creating recipes with AI. Of course, I know that recipes and creating recipes is the proprietary domain of the chefs and the creative brains. But sometimes you run out of fantasy. You can just rely on AI to create a recipe. You give it the number of ingredients you want. It will make use or not use of the ingredients in your database. You can tell it for what it is. Is this for a birthday party? Is this for, let's say, senior living? Is this for business catering? Is this for a lunch? All of these things you can give the AI, and the AI will return a recipe that is fully within the boundaries of what you gave it. Of course, one of the things that we will also do is data enrichment. So we will ask, or you will be able to ask AI, I have a list of unsorted ingredients that I have here somewhere from one of other document, but I have no categories, I have no subcategories, I have no seasonality in there. Can you enrich this data for me? And AI is, trust me, brilliant in doing that. It can go even as far as making sure that you can talk to it about allergens. Should you trust AI today to just blindly put all your allergens through AI? I wouldn't recommend it because it's a sensitive matter. But if you have all of your ingredients in there and you human-proof them, it never hurts to then run them through AI and ask it for a second opinion to see whether or not there is any mistake you've seen or you've missed. And one of the last things is maybe a little bit less AI, but you will also be able to build and print templates in your corporate style right from our software, from all the recipes that are available in your library. And that is AI and Epic Base. Now, the second vision is, of course, the software in AI. I think that's the next slide. It's the software in AI. And for that, I'm going back to Pieter, who will demo another very exciting thing, which is going to be the future of how we do software. And that is, up to you, Pieter.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. So this second vision, which is putting your tools, in our case, of course, Epic Base and all of its subtools, bringing that power into the AIs you're already using. Often it's with many of our customers, they're in the Azure Microsoft stack, so it would probably be a co-pilot kind of environment, but it could be anyone. Today I'm using Claude because they are one of the front runners in this very recent developments of putting your tools, connecting your softwares with AIs. And when I say recent, I'm not exaggerating, because currently even OpenAI's ChatGPT just launched support for this last month, and it's still in developer mode only. So that's how recent the capabilities I'm demoing here are. And so this is Claude, but it's not just Claude. It's Claude where I added a connector, and it's our Epic Base Production MCP. Again, three-letter acronyms. In this case, and instead of talking about an MCP and trying to explain it, we decided let's just show it. So for now, just see, it means that I have now given Epic Base, I've now given Claude access. In fact, if I would have connected here, it says, hey, Pieter, please log in. I log into Epic Base, and I can decide what functionalities, read, write, what it can do, and whether it should ask for access, but I've said always allow for now. So I just go into a chat, and I prepared a few, but the first one I was wondering, because I have one with really great prompts, but I decided to give you really one of my very first tries with it, so that you can sort of almost discover it with me a little bit, because this is just me last week. That's how new it is. And so I just came out of a roadmap meeting we had with our head of product and head of engineering, and we were discussing a new feature about about actually allergens and how our customers need to, and their teams, the QA teams, need to go through the new ingredients that get added through our integrations on a weekly basis and need to verify, enrich the allergen data. And they were asking us, are there better ways to support this workflow? And we are actually building ways to support this workflow in Epic-Base at the moment. And so I say, hey, maybe with this MCP, this new, how far can I get just inside of Claude for that same feature without coding anything? And I started really basic, because really this was one of my very first tries. I said, hey, can you fetch the last 10 ingredients added to my library? Do note, I didn't even mention Epic-Base here. I mean, I'm not even saying in Epic-Base, I didn't tell it anything about our API, nothing technical. Thanks to this connected MCP, which of course our teams have built, it understands our API, it can reason about our API, and it can do all of the power of Epic-Base inside of Claude, but it could be ChatGPT, Copilot, and so on. In this case, it is indeed fetching the last 10 ingredients, and it's showing them here to me. So this is my data in Epic-Base now and it's giving me a nice table. Of course, I realized, but actually in this case, it needs to get the ingredients that have unverified allergens. And so it figures I don't tell it anything about how it should query this or how it should do it. Again, thanks to the MCP, it can figure this out, and okay, you can still see the actual things it does, but it presents it to me in a readable way, and it says, look, in fact, you have 19 ingredients with unverified allergens, but here are the first 10. It even gives some further info. None of these are currently in use or approved, which is good from a compliance perspective, and so on and so forth. So you start to feel this power. The power of our data, your data, in fact, the data in Epic-Base, and these, and of course, in this case, a large language model being able to interact with it. And then I essentially just ask it the workflow that we were implementing and are implementing and launching. I just say, hey, I want to walk through them step by step, one at a time. I want a very short summary of the allergens currently in Epic-Base and a suggestion from you. Keep it concise. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Again, it does an API request for the first one, still knows what it is. In this case, it's amaretto. And he makes a suggestion. This is likely incorrect. There might be almonds in there, and he makes a suggestion of what to do. In fact, like always, I think you all know, LLMs, they tend to be show-offs. They always do more than we ask, let's just say. So also here, he says, the alcohol is set to untrue. The alcohol isn't even set. I suggest you also set alcohol to true for this one. And now comes a second part. It's not just about reading data. If you allow it, it can also update your data. So it can actually do things in Epic-Base. So this is not just a chatbot, This is actionable stuff. So he's asking, hey, you want me to update or just move over to the next? Now I went a little bit further because this vision doesn't stop at adding one tool to your AI. In this case, I also added an MCP for Open Food Facts. Open Food Facts is a huge database with allergen data, nutrition data, and so on. A database we don't even have a native connection with. So I did, if you check it here, I did add it. So here there is not only the Epic-Base one, but also Open Food Facts one. And so I ask it to say, hey, actually look it up there. So it does the same thing. It's now actually looking at your Epic-Base data. Here it is. And now doing also searches in Open Food Facts about this data. And it's bringing them together. And it's updating what it actually is suggesting to me. But this is just for inspiration, right? If you imagine you have the actual technical documents from your supplier, he sends them to you in PDF. Imagine you just uploaded them here and say, here's the documents, here's my Epic-Base data, use those documents, would work equally well. Or you have an Excel file with some data in it, upload it, would work equally well. These are just some examples of what it can do. And here I actually say, it's new, it actually says, I think you should put nuts and almonds based also on the data from Open Food Facts and the alcohol, and I say, yeah, please do the update. I don't have the time to show it, but and it actually really does the update. If I refresh my Epic Base, I could see these changes being made in the Epic Base software, updating to this one. And then it moves to the next one, the exotic bread, and you can just move through your thing. So this whole feature we were working very hard on, I could just essentially do this without any effort, any coding, already in this second kind of vision, enabling the power of Epic Base into the AIs. There's one more I wanted to show you, because here it's a very specific one. He doesn't find it in Open Food Facts. He said it, I don't find it in Open Food Facts. What do you want me to do? And I say, well, actually just email the supplier asking them what it is. Boom, you will send an email to the supplier saying, hey, this item in my database, what? That's, of course, yet another MCP. So you start to see the power here. That would be an emailing MCP allowing it. And so here he says, to whom should I send it? And in the end, I say, just send it to me. And indeed, on my cell phone, I got an email generated by AI asking about the allergens of this thing. Imagine this would be your supplier. And it just moves on and moves on and moves on. So again, here is just one example of, for me, this was really a second like aha moment. Whoa, this is very, very powerful, how I can interface with this, all of this data in Epic Base. But of course, it doesn't just stop at this. Is one example of where it's about allergens on your ingredients. Epic Base holds so much more rich data, right? It holds data about your inventory, about your revenue, about so many things, your tasks and HACCP, so compliance if you're using that module as well. And so this second example actually comes from a customer. I was with a customer some 3-4 weeks ago in a meeting, and they were onboarding and they were still having some questions so about their monthly count, saying, hey, if we do the monthly counts in all our locations, can I easily see the variance? You say, yeah, we have dashboards for that. Okay, great, wow. And then, oh yeah, sometimes people forget to close counts. Do people get a warning about that? We say, yes, in our software showed. We even send an email from our system if a count is open for too long. Oh, wow, really great. But then always this inevitable moment comes. I think everybody in software knows. They keep asking until you have to say no, right? So they keep asking and say, yeah, but what if somebody forgot to do the count on the last day of the month? Will your system automatically email them on the Monday saying they forgot their count and they should do it? And this inevitable moment came where I had to say, no, yeah, we don't have that feature. So I thought, let's just see if I can solve this with these MCPs. So I just went in. Again, I don't even mention Epic Base. I say, all my location, my English is very bad here, all my locations should have done an inventory count yesterday. Please verify this. So it starts doing a lot. In this case, it actually needs to do multiple APIs, needs to get all my locations, needs to check all the counts that were done. It does this. It says, okay, you have these locations. It gives me a short summary, and its conclusion is, none of your locations did. This is demo data that our sales are actually working in. This is the expected. It gives me some, it actually even tells me when their last counts actually happened, how many counts they did. So again, I can just say, hey, please send an email to all of the outlet responsibles telling them they should do their counts as soon as possible. And check, all of these emails are in our system. Got an email telling they should count as soon as possible. Of course, it doesn't stop here. If I would have thought, hey, send an email to the others telling them and giving them a short summary, that would have worked just as well. And Claude doesn't have this feature yet, but ChatGPT has. You can actually schedule these kind of things. So imagine I just schedule this. I could now say, in Claude, sadly, I can't. I'm guessing in a few months I will. I could just say, oh, yeah, do this every first day of the month, and blah, blah, blah. And it would just do this every first for all of your locations. It would be automatically sending them these emails. So boom, that feature that we didn't have, in fact, it seems we do have it in this new way of working. And then the third one is where I think really the vision of all of the power coming together is shown. So Epic Base, as our customers know, we have very powerful dashboards. Now, to power these dashboards, we do tremendous number crunching. So, for example, your sales and your profit margin insights, we crunch all of your POS data, we link it to the recipes, from the recipes and all of the costs from your suppliers. We know the cost of it, we can calculate the margins. And as has always been our philosophy to have open data and accessible data for our customers, we don't only have these dashboards, but we also have them available in our API. They're part of our BI, business intelligence endpoints. So we have those, and thanks that we have those, I can now ask a question to in this case, Claude, saying, hey, please analyze. And again, the example you should think, let's say you say, okay, I have 100 locations. Again, every month, I want them to just get a summary of their revenue from last month. So here, send them some key stats like the revenue, best performance, weakest performance. And in this case, I thought, hey, make it a bit more specific, include 3 recommendations to increase revenue that are backed by the analyzed data. The first should be to change something in your menu. Second, maybe more marketing-based, like a pairing. So I give it quite some freedom. Again, that's up to you. I was just doing this. And in fact, these are examples of sloppy AI. This is not actually a great way to use AI. I think you should put more effort into it. But and the third, you can call an AI suggestion. You are free to suggest what you think makes most sense. So I give it this. And again, imagine you can schedule this. Here it actually goes on a long thread. I think it went for about 10 minutes. In fact, it did start reading code, and then this comes out. I don't do any further chat with it. It's just, we're waiting. And then here is the email it would send for location 1 to, let's say, the restaurant manager there. That is really based on its data that, of course, is available in Epic Base. So I'm not going to go through it. I think you get the picture. So it gives these key stats. It gives these top 5 items needing attention. It tells me even some category-based information, how your profit margins and your revenue is coming from between different categories. And then, of course, because I asked it to, it has 3 in fact, I think very good recommendations. It says, your poke bowl has the lowest margin. You should look at that. It actually then even gives some sub-actions in this case. It says, maybe you could change the cost. You could do some things. Then the other one, it actually has a wine pairing program that it suggests me to do as a restaurant manager. And then the third one, which I gave it the freedom in this prompt, it suggests some beer category optimization to do in that particular location. I could renegotiate because apparently the margin on my beers is not really great. And but again, it's up to, of course, our customers to use this power and to create value using these tools. And the key point I want to make here, because there's this 20/80 rule they call, which is this is only possible, of course, because you have generated all of this rich data in Epic Base, because you have all of these, in this case, all of that revenue data, because you might be wondering, okay, the AI is doing it all, but that's not true. The AI is, of course, reasoning over it, putting it together, but if you do not have this digital representation of your locations and this rich digital representation, of course, this won't work. So it is the combination of your powerful tools like Epic Base that really is what you need, because the AIs, without data, they're, of course, nothing. So the key takeaway here is build up this sort of digital twin of your business, because else it's going to be out of the grasp of AI, and you're going to miss out on really huge changes in the future. And that was the last one.
Yeah.
Right. So thank you.
Dus dat heb je de beeld